Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Appreciate your presence here today. Before I begin, let me just say that...
Are you still going to fire the Bank of Canada governor? How would that help inflation?
Thank you very much.
Are you going to take...
I'm being heckled here by the... Thank you very much for your congratulation. I'm going to begin my remarks now.
But will you take some questions afterwards? That's usually the way it works.
Justin Trudeau is out of touch, and Canadians are out of money.
I'll put my hand up.
The reason that...
Can I get on the list, Anthony, to ask the question? Is that the way it works?
So we have basically a liberal heckler who snuck in here today.
So in the end, Mr. Poilievre did take 2 questions. Let's bring in the power panel to talk about the turn of events today. With me tonight, Michele Cadario, Shakir Chambers, Francoise Boivin, and Jason Markusoff. Hello again, everyone. Sorry for that stumbly intro. Shakir, I'm going to start with you. What happened today? A couple of different things to parse out. I want to start with Alain Reyes' defection. He was, of course, supporting Jean Charest's campaign. All the other ones kind of seemed to fall in line yesterday, though, say that the outcome of the race produced a unifying feeling among the party, not Mr. Reyes.
Yeah, his position is very interesting, especially when you look at how well Pierre did in Quebec, right? I think he won all but 6 ridings, and I'm pretty sure he won Mr. Reyes' riding as well. So he's not reflecting the preferences of, so he's not reflecting the preferences of his conservative constituency. So it's kind of shocking. And on Saturday, I think Mr. Reyes gave an interview or he tweeted out that he wasn't sure if he could be in a government led by Pierre. He was going to give us some time to think about it. Mm-hmm. I don't see anything between Saturday and today that would alienate any kind of progressive conservative. I would even look at Pierre's speech. As one of my colleagues said to me earlier today, if Barack Obama gave that exact same speech, nobody would have blinked an eye. I think we need to actually listen to what Pierre's saying and not go to these judgments of like, oh, he's just this far right, hard right politician and whatnot. I think ultimately what he's saying is going to resonate with a lot of Canadians beyond just a conservative base. And so I guess Mr. Reyes, I mean, maybe he has a personal issue with Pierre, but I don't think anything Pierre has actually done to this point since becoming leader would say to him that he needs to leave the party right now. I was kind of surprised that he made that decision.
So I certainly take your point about the speeches that Mr. Poilievre made to caucus on, I think it was yesterday morning, and then the speech after the win on Saturday night. And if he had only said that stuff, I would probably completely understand where you're coming from. But Francoise, Mr. Poilievre has done and said other things throughout the campaign that Alain Reyes specifically pointed to in that interview with my colleague over at RDI. For example, he said it was a mistake for Poilievre not to distance himself from the convoy. You'll remember that Mr. Poilievre expressed his support early and throughout the convoy and the sort of protest/occupation that happened in Ottawa and at other border crossings. He didn't want to go in the direction of attacking institutions like the Bank of Canada. He thinks that climate change needs to be a priority to grow the base. And people were telling him, he said, that they didn't see themselves in the current political climate. And he didn't want to associate with that type of politics, which to me means that he's associating Mr. Poilievre with that type of politics. Do you think that, like Shakir said, people shouldn't have that impression, or are you sympathetic and understand why Mr. Reyes would?
Well, I think us in Quebec, Alain Reyes for the Conservative Party of Canada was a high-profile figure. He was one of the main organizers even for Erin O'Toole at the time of the last campaign. He brought in a lot of excellent candidates for the Conservatives, even though they didn't have necessarily the result they were hoping for in Quebec. And also, Alain Reyes was the co-president of the campaign of Jean Charest's campaign, and himself was very vocal during the campaign and said certain things that other candidates that also supported Jean Charest didn't say as loud or were not seen publicly as seeing it as loud as Alain Reyes. Alain Reyes, being the communicator that he is, probably felt, and I respect that, Vashi, very much. I've lived a lot of leadership race, and when you say certain things that are viewed and construed to be pretty negative against one of the opponent, it's a bit hard. I was a bit impressed to see some of them go back into the caucus on Monday morning as if nothing ever happened. You all try to look unified. That's one thing I understand. But at the same time, it's quite the 180 degrees that Alain Reyes was not did not want to go to or do. And the only disappointment I had personally was when the question was asked of Poilievre. He could have shown, and I agree with Shakir, the speech on Saturday was pretty good to hear, and the way he was expressing himself to caucus yesterday. But today, when he was asked the question during that famous so-called, I never thought David Akin would be called a liberal heckler, but anyway, that was sad. That was weird, but anyway. But he had a chance to look more prime ministerial in my book if he had said, listen, it was a battle. He fought hard. I fought hard. And I don't hold any grudge against the guy. And just rise above the occasion. But he barely, I don't even think that he mentioned his name. And he just said, well, he doesn't want to fight for Canadian. That's his. I thought it was a bit petty. And that's the good old Pierre Poilievre, that image that I have since 2004 from that guy. So we'll have to polish a bit that aspect.
Yeah, he sort of mentioned, I mean, he had got a few questions and both of them involved to some degree the subject of Alain Reyes. And then at the end, he sort of responded in French saying, well, he doesn't want to fight, for Canadians and fight inflation.
Exactly.
And then kind of said it almost as he walked away again in French. Michelle, what about you? Kind of to straddle the line between both Francoise and Shakir, I would guess that, why not stay at the table and fight for the ideals that you hope to see your party reflect? Like, is that a fair question? Or is it just that the ideals are too different from the newly elected leader and it's okay to think that there's no choice but to leave?
Well, to me, it sounds like that MP just does not believe this new Pierre Poilievre that he's trying to spit and polish. Now that he's won the leadership campaign. Like, to me, he actually believes the true Pierre Poilievre is the guy who was out there campaigning and who was saying some very, very extreme ideas and was really trying to provoke anger in many cases, like on a whole bunch of issues. It seems to me that that's who this caucus member actually believes is the real Pierre Poilievre. And so, I think that message, a lot of Canadians are now going to be looking at that and making their own kind of conclusion. You can't shake everything that you did during the election, during the leadership race to win over, your base, and then think that it's a whole new day and nobody's going to remember what you did or said or promised when you all of a sudden have to actually go out and try and get Canadians' votes and try and actually seek more of the moderate Canadians, if you actually want to form government. So, he's had a rough couple days and, being snippy at his first press conference. I'm not sure that shows a lot of a spine of steel for what's going to lie ahead as they kind of go forward. And he tries to put, his own new mark on the party and, maybe dissuade Canadians that he actually means something else. Just, forget the last 8 months.
Okay, Jason, last word to you on this.
If I could, I guess I'm the media guy on this panel, so let me talk about what David Akin did. I have a lot of time for David Akin. He was now Global News, been with pretty much every media outlet in this country, including the not so very liberal Heckley Sun News Network. He was an anchor there. And while I think there are a lot of journalists out there who might not have taken the tack that David Akin did, I certainly understand the frustration that he's felt on behalf of a lot of my colleagues in Ottawa. This is day 4 of the Pierre Poilievre leading the opposition, and there has been no full press conference yet. There was no full press conference in Ottawa for the national media, if I'm not mistaken. And there are a lot of questions, and your panelists bring up a lot of questions that are worth asking him about his views on the Bank of Canada, on World Economic Forum, on the convoy, on COVID policy, on how he would deal with inflation. And like the very good questions you've actually asked Melissa Landsman. But journalists are not being afforded the opportunity to ask the leader of the official opposition about that, and that is highly irregular.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.